Hey everyone, welcome back to Talking Sense. I'm Ben. Today we're going to be looking at a couple of cheapies. One that was like a bit of a hype beast on YouTube very recently, or was hyped on a channel recently, and another one which was completely random but is driving me crazy. So let's go. Okay, so the two fragrances we're going to be looking at in this video are Exte Men, which was recently on Ify's channel, which he's recently changed the name of his channel. I think it's like Honest Fragrance Reviews. I'll put a link to it anyway. Yeah, he kind of hyped this up recently. And another one is Oud Al Sayed by Zaafran, which is kind of random. You'll notice the title was like the wins and the losses. So yeah, let's get a little bit into that. First of all, we're going to go negative. We're going to talk about the losses. So Exte Men, right? So this was, I say, on Ify's channel recently. So I really like his channel, and this video is in no way meant to kind of like bash Ify or anything like that. At the end of the day, perfumes taste and everything. But he kind of hyped this up as being like this really great new fragrance. I mean, Ify has in the past come up with like really helped to uncover some like hidden gems. So I kind of like his channel. I like, the way he kind of digs up cheap hidden gems every now and then. And yeah, I saw this one on his channel, and he sort of hyped it up as like the greatest fragrance known to mankind at the moment that he's really into. And I thought, fair enough, right? Let's have a look. So I looked it up on Fragrantica. It wasn't interesting me massively, but then I saw a couple of reviews that did stick out, and you'll know why straight away if you follow my channel at least. And that's because a couple of the reviews mentioned that this is a dead ringer for Dior Au Noir. Now, I just dropped like several £100 on a bottle of Dior Au Noir, so if this was a ringer for it, I instantly wanted to know if that's true, because if it is, I'll just buy a few bottles of this and I'll be selling my Au Noir again. So I picked it up. These cost £5 in England, which is next to nothing. It's 50 ml, so it's 5 pence per ml. So what is it? Exte Men was made in 2006 by a perfumer called Sophia Lab. She works for the big boys. She's like Firmenich and IFF. She's made a couple of quite a bit of like Bulgari, the Noir Bulgari fragrances, interestingly, and also quite a bit of Floricu, which kind of stood out to me. It's got notes of oregano, bergamot, thyme, lavender, geranium, cinnamon, orris root, patchouli, Virginia cedar, tonka bean, and vanille. Mainly the reviews seem to be saying that this was like a sort of spicier, herbier version of Dior Homme Intense. And that's how Ify presented it on his channel as well, is that it was like a bit like a better version of Dior Homme Intense, I think he said. Something along those lines. Check out the video, so I'll link the video in the description. I wasn't really that interested in that. I was more interested in the comparison by Au Noir, like I say. So what did I think? And well, obviously not that much, because it's under the losses section of this video, right? When I sprayed it for the first sort of 10 seconds or so, I did think, damn, I'm selling my bottle of Au Noir, because for the first sort of like 10-15 seconds, this is bang on Au Noir. It's an exact like perfection, like they smell the same. But then straight away after that, notice you start getting a lot of differences, like that, and the differences really are, because I do think it still smells like Au Noir. I still think it bears like a very strong resemblance to Au Noir, but to me, I feel like this is a sort of plasticky. It's always got this plasticky, sort of tacky cheapness to it, and I sort of feel like if you asked a child to draw a picture of the Mona Lisa in crayon, the resulting drawing they would come up with would be the equivalent of like, this would be the child's drawing, and Au Noir would be the great painting, right? Like it, and that metaphor stretches even further to say that you could smell that picture that the kid drew, and that horrible plastic crayon waxiness would be what this smells like, to be honest. Like, it smells I've got the dry down here because I've been wearing it today, but it's just not that pleasant. It's got this like savage sort of plastic, sort of synthetic vibe, and it lays across everything, and it really trashes it basically. I think this would be a really good Dior Au Noir clone if it wasn't for that kind of plastic syntheticness. And I still think like it's not a bad fragrance, like really. And I think if you were like super desperate, this could maybe do in a pinch if you wanted to kind of get a vibe of what Au Noir's like. But this is just like far below Au Noir's level, like so far below, it's not even worth, I mean, no, it's just silly. The notes say that you get, I don't really feel that. So apparently you definitely get a lot of that oregano and the spices on the top for sure. But things like the lavender, for example, like whereas in like Au Noir, like the lavender is very much there and very much like a natural herbal smell, and lavender is really nice. In this, you get this kind of like, yeah, I suppose it's a cheap rendition of lavender, but it's not, it doesn't have any definition or dimension or anything like that. It's very flat. It's like a flat 2D representation of lavender. And I feel that goes across the whole fragrance really. And the only bit that really comes alive in this fragrance is the kind of plasticky sweetness of it all. And that is just like leagues below like the sweetness that's in Au Noir, which is this kind of deep, rich, kind of potential dark chocolate vibe. Whereas in this, it's just this kind of plastic sweetness that smells super synthetic, like kind of those like rubbers, like erasers or something, like that you used to get as a kid and that probably most of us used to sit and eat. But it's just not very nice. Honestly speaking, like I was talking to someone earlier about this, and I honestly was like, you know what, if I wasn't such a hoarder, I'd just put this in the bin. I really don't like it that much. I think it's disgusting. Say for £5 for the bottle, whatever, do you know what I mean? Like it's worth a punt. And like I say, I'm not ripping on Iffy's tastes or anything. Like Iffy's come up with some absolute gems. For me personally, we're just at heads with this one. Like I don't like it. And you know, that's fine. But I really feel like this is definitely, I mean, a scrubber, like for sure. So that's JS Exte Men. It cost me a £5 for 50ml. I don't regret the purchase, obviously, but I don't much care for it. Say like it could go in the bin for all I care. So the next cheapie that we're going to be having a look at goes into the winner category. So let's all relax and smile, because this one is Oud Al Sayad by Ardal Zaafran. I've had Ardal Zaafran on this channel before, and it's like this weird kind of hobby within a hobby that I've got, where every now and again I like to like just pick up like a random Ardal Zaafran or one of those kind of UAE fragrances off eBay, because they're so cheap. They're like usually between like £5 and £10. Sometimes, you know, if you're really pushing the boat out, they might be like £12 or £13, and that's delivered. So, you know, I tend to like every now and again, like every couple of months, I'll just have a binge and I'll pick up a couple and just see how they go. And most of the time they're losses, to be honest, and sometimes they're wins. And this one today was a massive win. So why did I buy it? First of all, I mean, I bought it because it's a clear rip-off of a Widium bottle, and I really like the Widium bottles. And it did make me interested. Like, I wonder if this smells like a Widium fragrance. Because, you know, the other thing with Ardal Zaafran is they make a lot of fragrances. They make a lot of fragrances. They're not all clones. Some of them are, some of them aren't. I feel like their best ones are usually clones, to be honest. But their clones are usually quite good, and also they tend to, they don't clone like 100%. I feel like they clone and they put a spin, like they put their own kind of spin onto it. And I don't know if that's intentional or if that's just like when you get that, you know, sometimes you'll get like a cultural kind of filter will go over the clone, and they'll sort of filter it through their own culture. Like you used to get it a lot in music. I mean, you get it a lot still even now in music. When you listen to music from Japan, they'll copy it. So back in the old days, like Japan would copy music from the West, like rock and roll, like Elvis Presley and stuff like that, because there was a kind of anti-US sentiment in. I mean, this is going massively off topic, but hey, history lesson, right? So there was a kind of anti-US sentiment, but they liked the rock and roll and stuff like that. So there was this kind of disconnect there. So instead of like just selling Elvis Presley records, they would get like Japanese musicians to sing the Elvis Presley records, right, and re-release them in Japan, and they would try and sing them like 100% and copy them 100%, but you'd get this cultural filter on it, you know, and it would spin it in this way where accidentally it would change it slightly and give it this quirky edge, and that's kind of what's made them like still interesting today to music lovers, and that's gone totally off topic, but the point stands here. I wonder if Zaafran does the same thing, and it takes their clones, and rather than just trying to clone it 100%, they clone it, but they put this like UAE spin onto that clone. So anyway, that was long-winded. Is this a clone or not? I don't know, and that's why I wanted to put it in this video, because I haven't smelt that much Wydian. I've only smelt one, and it was one of the Wydian Black collections, but I forget which number it was. I think it was number 2, and I've smelt Wydian London, but I haven't smelt any of the others, and this is driving me absolutely nuts because it's really nice. So the notes for this are a little bit confusing, because one of the things when you buy these fragrances off eBay is the listings are all different. And quite often, like you'll be able to find the same fragrance from like 5 different sellers, and they'll use like copy and paste and sort of translated, like auto-translated listings and that, and then they don't really make sense. And sometimes they're not even for the same fragrances. They're just like copy and paste the same listing into every single fragrance, and they'll have like the fragrance notes, and so you know it might even be the fragrance notes for something completely different. From what the best I can understand, the fragrance notes for this listed are something along the lines of fruity notes, cedar, sandalwood, oud, patchouli, and caramel. I think it said, and that was about it. I think. Oh, I think there was like citrusy notes as well in there as well. For me, it's best just to talk about what this smells like. I'm going to spray it. I've got the dry down here, but I'm going to spray it. Where can I'm going to spray it up my arm, and we'll kind of, I'll talk about the opening because it's quite weird. It's a bit of a double sort of whammy, this one. In the opening, I know it's a bit much. The opening, I mean, this thing is nuclear anyway. Like a lot of the Zaafran fragrances, this is super nuclear. But in the opening, it's just too much. But it's like hyper sweet and hyper synthetic, and honestly, it's not that nice. It's got some citrus for sure, but like quite obscure citrus, and I feel like a sort of like an orange blossom or something. Like it's like a soft sort of citric floral going on in there, like a quite clean white floral. And then otherwise, there's like a clear medicinal oud vibe. So Zaafran, they quite often have like these kind of like medicinal oud, like synthetic, obviously, like synthetic ouds, kind of accords in their perfume, and they've definitely put it in this one. This like quite medicinal edge it smells like plasters and like band-aids rather, like if you're American. It's definitely got that vibe in it, which I really like, and I think that's a little bit hit or miss. Like some people will like it and other people just won't. And below that is a kind of smoky wood, so it's a smoky oudy medicinal vibe with this kind of like white citric floral, sort of like an orange blossom or something going on, and underneath that like a quite sort of synthetic, sort of caramelly vanilla kind of thing, and that's more or less how it stays. I don't really like this opening. For me, it's a bit full on, but it's nice, and it's not as juvenile as it sounds with that kind of like synthetic vanilla and woods. Like it's like the oud accord in it sort of steps it up a level in maturity and makes it feel a little bit more grown up. But it's nice, and I do like it. But it's a bit full on for me. But if you give it a bit of time, like give it about an hour or so, I mean, you'd have to give it that long because it's already calming down so that I can get my nose up in it and smell it, right? But within an hour after that, basically with gold. So for me, it's like the first 5-10 minutes are just a bit too much. But then sort of it slowly progresses for that hour, the first hour kind of thing, and gets better and better as that first hour goes on. And then after that with gold, right? And like the dry down is lovely, and it's this sort of smoked, like gently smoky wood, and like, which I would say is very like cedar kind of feeling. I suppose you could sort of say there's like a synthetic sandalwood going on in there, like maybe an attempt at that. But for me, it feels like a kind of cedar. And mixed in with that is a very sort of caramel. There is like definitely like a fantasy caramel note in there with sort of vanilla and sort of sugar sort of vibes going on, like sort of burnt sugar, and that kind of oody, sort of smoky, oody, incensey kind of vibe. And that's really about it. And it's quite simple. It's just this kind of like woody toffee kind of smell, that's sort of slightly smoked and slightly incensey sort of vibe to it. And it's really nice. And yeah, I really like it. I'm really impressed. So it makes me feel like it's definitely a clone of something, but I don't know what. So basically, the main reason I made this video, apart from to sort of say, yeah, you know, if you fancy picking up a cheapie and you're looking at Zaafran one day on eBay, stick this one on the list of like cheapies to maybe pick up, because this is really nice. So that opening, bit bold for me, bit bold probably for most people, to be honest. But the dry down is lovely. Like all Zaafrans, you know, you have to kind of point out it's clearly synthetic. It's, you know, it's cheap. What do you expect? Like, it's definitely going to be synthetic as all hell. But if you don't mind that, which say I don't necessarily, I've never really had a beef with synthetics at all. You know, if you don't mind that, it's nice. It's a really pleasant fragrance, and for the price, it's much better than a lot. You know, I mean, I think this cost me £11 maybe, this one delivered, so it was, you know, bit on the high end of Zaafrans really, but you know, it's better than most kind of like £40-50 designers. I think it's really good. It doesn't smell, see, that's the great thing with them, is they don't smell designer, they don't smell sort of mainstream, and sort of, although they do smell a little synthetic, they're along the same lines as, I always sort of said, I remember I've done a review on Zaafrans before, and I always put them in that same bracket as like Mancera and Montal and things like that. I feel like they're not like a million miles away from that kind of stuff, with their kind of synthetic oud or however you say it, that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, I think it's decent, and for the price, you really can't go wrong. It's 100ml for like £11, and like I say, bit bold at the start, but with a lovely dry down. So yeah, definitely check it out. And if you do check it out, anyway, back to the point of this video, the whole point of this video, if you do check it out and you recognize it from a William fragrance, or any fragrance really, like I say, it might just be the William bottle that they aped, but I wonder if it's a William smell. But if you do check it out and you notice that it's a clone of anything, definitely let me know, because it's driving me crazy, because it makes me wonder, like, this is, say, like a lot of our Zaafrans are good, but the best ones are always kind of clones of things. But the clones are always, like I say, they're not 100%. They always put a spin on them, and I like that. But yeah, I'd be interested to know your thoughts if you do recognise it from anything else. So yeah, if you give it a go, if you're knowledgeable about this one, you know, if you've tried it and you recognise it as a clone, chuck it in the comments, let me know what you think. I personally think it's really nice. So yeah, they're my kind of like wins and losers really, wins and losses. This one definitely is worth the bin, and this one's, you know, comfortably on my bottom shelf for like those days where you just want to pick up a cheapie and give it a spray and just enjoy the smell really, because it's nice. It's definitely synthetic, but it's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, nice one. Thanks very much for watching. Yeah, they're my cheapy wins and losses. Thanks a lot. Cheers.